let's get into it. We're going to talk about like how to convert on social media. But before we do that, wins for the week does not have to be business related. Wins for the week. Let's hear where you guys are at. Unmute or drop it in the chat.
I have one.
Okay,
I should be under contract by end of day. And it's exciting because it's for my parents. They're going to be moving from Washington to Arizona.
Okay, so, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, and Kristen, you put your first commercial property under contract. That's incredible. How did that come up?
It was friends of it was my friends who were using one of their friends as their realtor, and it's taken them like a year. And they reached out and they were like, hey, if you can find us something, like we'll make it work. And so I pulled up some of the obvious listings and I was like, why don't you guys like these, just so I know how to start your search? And they were like, we love that. Let's go see it. We put it under contract the next day. She just hadn't been sending them what they were asking for, I guess. I don't know. So I offered to pay a referral fee. They're thrilled. She's happy. Everyone's happy. So
I love that. Do the obvious often. Write that down. Just do the obvious often. Honestly, it's like one of those things where should that be our tagline for 2023? Do the obvious often. Because so often like we want to overthink it and be like, oh, it's not perfect. It's not this, it's not that. Like, have a couple of things I want to go through. Jen is 80% done with Christmas shopping. Phenomenal. I'm happy to say I am done with Christmas shopping, but I have not wrapped one thing, which has me feeling like cold sweat. Sarah got so much positive feedback from stories and putting her face out there. Anyone that likes you is never sad to see your face, in case you're wondering. So if it repels people, you don't want to be friends with them anyways. Those are like the mean girls from 8th grade. You don't actually want to be friends with those girls. Anyways, let's jump into a couple of things. I literally just lost my train of thought. We were talking about doing the obvious often. Okay, I remembered it now. So I want to talk through a little bit. Does anyone know what this means? Does anyone know what that term means? Okay, how many of you have watched The Holiday? Okay, now do you know what this means?
Is it supposed to be the meet cute that they have?
Ah! I put Q. That's fine. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm like typing. Listen, sometimes when you're writing in real life, you don't really see what you're doing. Okay, what is it? Andrea, you know what it means.
Yeah, it's just that moment where the two main characters meet.
Where the two main characters meet, right? And it's always like, oh my gosh, this, guy meets girl, and the viewer is like, oh my gosh, they're meant for each other. But do the two characters in the story know that they're meant for each other yet?
No,
they don't know that yet, right? It's like, oh my gosh. We talked about it with like the Lindsay Lohan Netflix movie that was also Overboard, right? Because everything is just storytelling, right? Like, so you have to be a master at storytelling. This is actually like step one in like converting clients. Is it cute? C-U-T-E?
I think so.
I literally always thought it was meet cute. I'm not joking. Could someone Google that for me and then return and report, because it's literally going to drive me batty. What the frick? Oh, it's fine. Brittany's like, no, shut up. It is meet cute. Okay, fine. This is gonna bug me now. Meet cute. So that meet cute is where it's like, boom, they run into each other. Okay. So I want you to be thinking about this in relationship to you and your clients. Like, what is your meet cute? Where is it? right? And we talked about this a little bit, like with Brittany and Sarah. Is Sarah on here? We talked a little bit about this yesterday, the last week, about like, how can you, like, I don't want to say manufacture meet cutes, but you're going to manufacture meet cutes. That's what every networking event is about. Every cocktail party is like a potential meet cute, right? That's where you like run into each other and like, oh my gosh, like, come, she left an impression, right? Like, your job is to be that person that they're meant for and they don't even know it yet. That is literally your job, right? So it's just like Kristen was like, again, literally, but do you want me to see how quickly I can take Kristen's commercial property and turn it into a romantic storyline? Here it goes, okay? We're gonna like compare it to every Hallmark holiday movie because you've literally seen every story a gajillion times, and yet y'all, I mean, guilty as charged. You tune in and you're like, I'm here for it. I wonder what's going to happen. I just can't crack the code on this storyline, right? So Kristen is like, she's like the girl next door. She's actually always been there the whole time. She actually was always the person, and her friend was dating other people thinking they're gonna like perform for them like she wants them to. And then guess what? They did it. And then it's like, oh my gosh, Kristen's the obvious choice, and she solved their problem like this, right? And do you see the story? There's the story right there. They had already met. They'd already met. So number one is we want to ask yourself the question of like, how can you meet more of your ideal clients? Like, how can you put yourself in circumstances where you can meet more of your ideal clients? It doesn't mean, oh, I'm constantly showing properties or I'm constantly like talking about real estate right now. Yes, that's on Instagram. Remember, we're talking about the real life version of you and the digital version of you, right? So Instagram is like a website for me, right? It's like a portfolio of my work. And I'm going to meet people on Instagram and I'm going to give them content that they want to consume, right? My ideal client is 30 to 50 years old. They're buying their first move-up house or their dream house. Okay. So I'm going to give her HGTV in her pocket because HGTV has already done all the research and development for me. Because isn't that their ideal client as well? Like their ideal audience? So literally go and buy Real Simple magazine, go buy HGTV magazine, go buy Joanna Gaines magazine. What is she already consuming? Give her that, right? Now, in real life, okay, now I'm moving over to real life because you have to have real relationships. You're going to meet them in real life and then they're going to do, they're like, oh, I'm going to go follow her on social media. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. She's in my head, right? So in real life, what are the habits that I'm doing to meet more of those ideal clients? In real life, I am at the high school all the time, or I'm at the elementary school all the time. Because where are they? That's where they are. Like I'm at the high school basketball game, not because I have a kid playing, but because all of my friends have kids playing and I have a little boy that loves it, right? So I'm there. And then we're sitting in the stands together. Oh, right? So yeah, I'm like running, I'm purposely running into them. I'm doing that on purpose. I did the same thing with my husband when we were in college. We weren't married yet. I wanted to run into him. I'm going to study at the business college. I'm not studying at the college. Like I know where he's going to be. I can like just be there. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Imagine that. Huh. Weird. Raise your hand if you have figured that out when you were dating. Raise your hand. Don't lie. Do not lie. Do not lie. Okay. Yeah, Q Mastermind by Taylor Swift, right? Exactly. Okay. So this is a business you're running. It's not that any of these relationships are disingenuous. They're not. I'm just, hey, what's up? That's good. Inevitably, oh, what's going on? What's about this? Like, so at the basketball game last night, I saw a client that I showed a house to this weekend. Oh my gosh, it's good to see you. How are you guys? What's up? Right? It's like that familiarity. Okay. So what are your meet cutes? It's like really going to bug me saying meet cutes. That hard T in there just doesn't work for me. Whatever. So what are your, this is kind of what I call like your viral posts, right? Viral discovery. Okay, this is your viral kind of discovery content. Draw a square on your paper. You need to have a bucket of that. A bucket of viral discovery posts. Okay. Ashley Cooper, you want to be in the hot seat?
Sure.
Okay, we're putting Ashley in the hot seat. Ashley.
Yes.
Ideal. Ashley has a fun business. She's got a lot of buckets to work with. Okay, which is sometimes a curse. It's a curse in a lot of ways. Okay, because you're like, oh, I can do this and I can do that and I can do this and I can do that. And then you want to know what? Like you're literally like the girl with multiple personalities in junior high, and you're like, who, like, I've got whiplash because I can't figure out, am I going to get this version of Ashley or this version of Ashley or this version of Ashley, right? And so when you're dating someone, we all listen, raise your hand if you have multiple personalities. It's fine. My husband knows for sure I have multiple personalities, right? But when we were dating, I didn't come out of the gates with like, hey, by the way, once a month, I'm a raging lunatic. I didn't come out with that. Like, I'm not coming out of the gates with that, right? Like, you're going to ease into your multiple personalities. Okay. So Ashley, what would be, let's go through your ideal client. What's your ideal client?
She's actually very established in her career. She's 35 to 50. She has a very strong income.
Okay. Is this for, which client are we talking about? Because you have multiple.
Yeah. So usually it's, if you're buying a home, it's your forever home or your longer term home. So you're either building that or you're purchasing that, or you are at the point of downsizing.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a snapshot of Ashley's business, really high level. One, her husband's a general contractor, and so they can like do custom build homes. She's got her real estate license. She's also a phenomenal like interior designer. Fun fact, Ashley's been like featured all over the internet for her interior design work. Okay. So Ashley can like hold their hand through like a custom build project. Would that be your ideal client? Like the people that want to do custom builds?
Yeah.
Or do you want to do like the dream home, just resell buy?
So really like our ideal client is helping them prep their home. So within getting it ready to list.
Okay.
And then also selling their property, helping them find a luxury new build or a luxury property. And then we've renovate the whole entire property or furnish it.
Okay.
That's the
So
ideal client.
Missy drops a very valid piece of data in the chat. The one and only he follows Ashley. So she's a bit of a bee. Okay, so here's what I want you to do, Ashley. Right, let's go through this. Is one, her ideal client, Studio McGee's following her. So what would her like viral discovery content look like? Everyone weigh in. You know the answer to this.
Beautifully designed spaces that make me want to hire you.
Beautifully designed spaces that make me want to hire you. 100%. So I want you to do like Becky Owens, like Studio McGee, like I want you to do those like property, like whatevers. And that means, Ashley, that everyone's like, oh, how do I get that? Literally, you're going to, okay, I have a couple of ways you're going to do this. Number one, goes to IG to follow Ashley now. Exactly. So number one, find the most exclusive like new builds in your area. Okay. And we're going to do your know, like, trust. Okay. Because this is your know content, though they discover you. Your no is like the pulled back. It's just like, oh, here's a pool. And it has trendy music and whatever, and people consume it. Oh, here's a beautiful kitchen. It's well lit. Make sure your camera's on 4K, like it's filming at like its highest, so you get the most crisp images. If you don't know how to do that, just Google it. Just Google how to do that. Okay. And then, so that's like your no. Okay. And then your like content is like, they need to know Ashley is an interior designer. So I want you to go to if you can go to one of your new builds that you've designed. I don't know if you still have access to any of those, but I want you to go in and do, how many of you have seen those reels, like 5 things I love about this kitchen? And they talk about like, oh, it's got dual dishwashers right here, the symmetry, or it's got the prep pantry, or it's got this. Like, you're going after a super like bougie client, right? So you've got to show like, oh, this is why this matters, right? That is going to be where they start to like you. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, what about this, right? And now you're still showing the beautiful home, right? Again, you could literally go and buy HGTV magazine, Real Simple magazine, go buy Joanna Gaines. What are the headlines inside their magazines? Like, what is it? Like, oh, 5 ways to declutter after the holidays. Yeah, she wants you to tell her that, right? That's also 5 ways to declutter before you list your house. That's literally the same piece of content. You can change the headline on that. You see what I'm saying? So you have these hero pieces. So then that's your no is right here. Literally, you also can like Google where they're doing a parade of homes. Find one that's close to you. Like, I go to the one in Utah every single summer because I film loads of content for the entire year. The entire year.
To chime in, that's actually what we do a lot. Is I'll go around to properties and tour them that are in the price point of my ideal client. It may not be my property, but it attracts and just continues the message of the price point that we're at, because a lot of times when you're designing or you're building a new build, you don't have that to show except for the progress for a year or more. And so if you're showing like properties, right, you're also supporting local in your community, but you're also attracting those clients who are in that price point potentially for your new build or for your property or for you to list or help them buy.
Yeah. So this is like where everything we've talked about relates to real estate, right? But the other things that Ashley's client wants to know is like, she could link them to like, oh, this is like, okay, this is going to sound ridiculous because I'm totally guilty of this. And I realize it's ridiculous, but I like my wrapping paper to have a theme and to match and to like have certain ribbons. And like every year it has to be cohesive. And I literally buy specific wrapping paper so that it looks pretty underneath my tree. You go ahead and call me a bougie bee. I'm going to own it. I 1000%. I'm going to own that. So that's something like, right? Ashley's like, oh, if she posts this of like, don't you want an interior designer to say like, oh, this is how I'm making my wrapping paper? Like, that's such like an easy thing because you're wrapping stuff anyways, you're buying wrapping paper anyways. And Ashley's like, oh, here, just elevate it. That's cool, right? So just stuff like that where it's like, it's still home related and it's still interior designer. You know what I mean? But that's her niche, right? That's her niche. And so you just keep showing up. And like, the other thing I think you could do, Ashley, that would land really, really well is some of that, like, I'm trying to think of like an example where this makes sense of like, get the look for less, right? Where it's like, oh, you could show like different sink hardwares or light hardwares or like light fixtures, or like how to go from builder basic, like how to take your builder basic and give it an elevated look, right? Oh, here's the light fixtures. You should do this like before. And then this is why it relates back to real estate. Oh, upgrading your light fixtures does X, Y, and Z for resale value. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, by the way, here's a link to like whatever. We follow here? Okay. Now let's talk about how we're going to convert all of these things. So questions like, but that's going to be kind of Ashley's content plan, right? No, discover, like, know, like, trust. Okay. Because they're going to keep following her, and then they're going to build in other markets. So Ashley, you should theoretically be able to like pick up people that are building in other markets and be able to connect them with other agents and other builders. You can even get down and dirty. Like, I genuinely want you out walking the lots, like pacing the lines, like put your hunter boots on. Like, oh, if you're building, you need to make sure you have a pair of hunter boots because your feet are going to be so dusty and dirty and muddy all of the time. Here's my fit, right? So like, give her those things and let her see you out, like measuring, like, or like walking the lot and say, hey, you want to make sure your back patio interacts really well with your pool. And you also want to make sure you can have like that line of sight from your kitchen, because a lot of like, she's going to have 100%, she's going to have kids or people out in the pool, and you want to be connected to it. So you want to paint that lifestyle and say, this is what it looks like from the beginning, right? Where you're like, I literally want to have you go out in the dirt and you're like walking in the dirt, and then and hopefully you already have a project that's done, but you can find another lot that looks similar so you can like do this quickly, but then have it look like, oh, from pacing the dirt to literally then like walking around the pool or something. You know what I mean? Like how it's like, oh, that's cool. Okay. Now, and then so anyways, okay, I'm rambling now. So do we feel comfortable with kind of like the content we're putting out for Ashley's business? Do we see how that all relates? Okay. Now what? I'm consuming Ashley's content and I'm like, hey, I want to work with you. What do I do now? This is the thing everyone misses. No business happens on the app. It is not a lead until you have them off the app. Just go ahead and write that down. You do not own your Instagram following. So you have to say, well, how do I get them off of the app? Where do I take them? Do you have a link? Is there a place where they can contact you, schedule a call with you, get onto your email list? How do they contact you?
Are you talking to me specifically?
Just in general, but I know you
Okay,
can.
perfect.
So, Ashley, go, Ashley. How do they know how to work with you?
So I actually, I have a website. I built it all out, and you can contact me on that, like through all of the things, like a questionnaire. There's free resources, my website, portfolio, all the things. Yeah.
Will you drop your website into the chat so everyone can see it? Okay. Now, is that how it started? Did you have your website like?
No, it did not start that way.
Okay.
But I will tell you, my business tenfolded when I finally just got an efficient website. Game changer.
Game changer.
Yeah.
Game changer. Right now, drop a yes and raise your hand. I can't see half of you, so raise your hand doesn't totally work. Drop a yes in the chat if you have a website you like. Drop a yes in the chat if you have one you like. Okay. Drop a no if you need a website or you're not sure yet what your website should look like. Okay. So there's this gap, right? Between like websites, beautiful websites do not happen overnight. Like they do not happen overnight. And one of the reason is you lack clarity on knowing what your website should look like. You drop a yes if you know 1000% you should have a website inside your business. Right? So everyone knows that you need a website, but there's this lack between knowing that you need a website and then knowing what your website should have on it to like build efficiently, right? I know Andrea is building websites. Are you taking on clients, Andrea, or not?
I do. Yes.
Okay. So Andrea builds on Squarespace.
Mhm.
And I know Alyssa Stalker has a course to help on build websites. Does she build on Squarespace too? Andrea, do you know?
Her course is centered on Squarespace, yes. I think she's played around with Show It as well,
Yeah.
but she primarily works in Squarespace.
Okay. So there's a couple of options and you get to choose your own adventure, right? I looked at Squarespace. I ended up building mine on Show It. I also have some graphic design experience behind me. So like that makes it a little bit easier for me. Okay. So full disclosure. So you might want, so anyways, so what do you do before you have a website? What do you do before you have a website?
I think you for sure have to know your brand. You've got to know your client. You got to know who you serve and what you stand for and your whole branding from your look to your verbiage. It is a lot, but when you define yourself in the market, that's when you attract your clients because they know how to find you.
Mhm. And it's online and in real life. You have to show up the same. Like you have to show up the same way. Okay. So yeah, I like everyone says use Calendly. If you're in the in-between, you still have to have an exit strategy for Instagram. Join my email list. Schedule a call with me here, right? You can use Linktree. What's the other one I was using? Milkshake. I was using Milkshake. If you don't know what they are, just Google them. Okay. But these will give you kind of, I like the look and aesthetic of Milkshake better than Linktree. Personal preference. Okay. But first, start building your links. You'll end up using those links when you build your website. You'll end up using those links. So the links to schedule a call, the links to join your email list, like you will end up, like the email list link is like that you're going to give them like a little bit of like a freebie, free resources, right? So you're saying, oh, download the like 10 things you need to know before you list your house, freebie right here, collect their email list. 10 best schools in, your city, USA, whatever it is. Okay. And then you download, and then you can get their email list, get them on your email list is what I'm trying to say. So build your links. Brittany uses BioSite. Let's talk about what links everyone has inside their business. Ashley's business is more complicated than just buying and selling real estate. So I want to open it up just transactionally only. If you are, by the way, this works for agent growth and transactions. The recipe is literally the same. Just so we're clear. So what are the links inside of transactions you need to build? Yeah, Krista's a great example. Krista just said Ashley's brand is why we reached out to her to join EXP, so it can attract agents too. Your websites, would you like to go through my website? Do you want to do a case study, or should we do a case study of Ashley's? Who wants to put their website on the hot seat? Because we're going to reverse engineer this. This is a process and it doesn't happen overnight. So if you're thinking, oh, this just magically happened for Ashley, that's a load of baloney. Okay, let's do that. Fine, we'll do Ashley's.
Just so everyone has a clear picture too, I've been working at building my brand for 10 years. 10 years. And Amy knows this because we've been friends and we were building side by side. 10 years.
Ashley, oh
Yes.
my gosh. Please, can we remember when we collaborated on that?
Yes.
Shirt?
I know what you're talking about right now. It's a terrible picture of me 9 months pregnant, about to give birth in like 2 days. And I am a lot taller than Amy and tiny Amy next to you. And it just magnifies the size that you are.
Okay, wait. How long ago was that? How old is that baby now?
She's about to be 11 on Saturday.
So when I owned an online storefront, I literally like made graphic design tees And again, this is how solid this recipe is, just so you are aware, is it's not just real estate related. This is how solid the social media recipe is. And like, I always say, like, social media is like real estate. You buy real estate and wait, right? You don't buy whatever, you know what I'm saying? You don't wait to post to social media, you post to social media and you wait, okay? And so the compound effect is just insane. Chessa, what do you mean 10 years? Why did it take that longer? Do you mean tweaking it? No, it just means like you're growing up. Like you are growing up. Your business is like living, breathing. It should evolve. It should evolve and grow and change. And so Ashley has this beautiful website because she knows herself well enough to be like, oh, this is my brand. But it's like going shopping for a t-shirt. It's like, if something doesn't fit, you got to take it off, get one that fits, right? So Ashley and I met a long time ago. I own an online storefront and I would collaborate with other like influencers, right? Ashley was going to be my megaphone. We talked about this last week, like who's going to be your megaphone inside your market? And so Ashley was a graphic designer. And so we literally collaborated on a t-shirt where she designed the image on the shirt. I'm laughing so hard about what it is because do you know that has like sexual connotations?
I do now. I didn't know
Not
that.
know that and then either. This is so wild. Okay, we're going to go down memory lane for just a minute because it actually has a point. So legitimately, remember we talked about, are you following me on this? Like last week, we talked about finding your amplifiers in your market. We talked about this with Brittany. We talked about this with Sarah, where it was like, oh, she's going to go and connect with these other women. And then these other women are going to spread their message. Right? Are you with me? Nod, thumbs up. Yes. Okay. So Ashley was going to be my magnifier. I wanted access to Ashley's market. So I'm like, how do I create a win-win? Ashley's going to design the shirt. I'm going to print the shirt. I'm going to do all the shipping. I house the whole website of everything, but Ashley's going to get paid X amount on every single shirt I sell. Okay. That's how it's going to work. And then we sent it out to other like influencers. Do you know that we sent it to like Twist Me Pretty? Like at the time, her name's Abby Smith, but like Twist Me Pretty wore it. I worked with people like Carol Loren and Lisa Allen, all these people. Oh, Lisa Allen did that one too. Anyways, the shirt had a pineapple on it. If you don't know what pineapples mean, go ahead and look it up, Google it. I don't know. We don't need to go down this road. Someone drop it in the chat. Meredith, go ahead and drop pineapple, whatever that means. Thank you. Actually, now that picture feels extra funny where you're standing next to me, pregnant, and we both have pineapples on our shirts.
I just thought it.
I
literally just put that together.
Yep.
Yep.
Anyways, I think Flamingos does too. I don't know. Meredith, weigh in. I feel like Meredith knows all the young stuff. Okay.
Oh my gosh. No, I don't, it's all rumors. No one really knows. I mean, I guess unless you're just like undercover in the swinging community, but I'm not. So I don't really know, but those are the rumors. And Utah Mom Talk on TikTok is a whole rabbit hole, but that did not help that age well.
Yeah, no, that did not age well. So anyways, that's how Ashley and I met, whatever. But can you see like how that works? And then literally she went and started doing interior design. I started doing real estate. They moved to Washington. But like your story, this is the compound effect of social media. We literally met on Instagram 10 years ago. And now we're sitting in this room now, like still building businesses together. Like, this is what I mean when it's like real relationships. Like any real relationship takes time. And so often people want to like get on Instagram and be like, well, I posted once and it didn't work. Yeah, it probably didn't. Right. But the compound effect of it is insane. The opportunities it brings. Ashley's had to sign NDAs, so she can't even tell you about the opportunities that have been brought her way through social media. Okay, let's go to Ashley's website. I haven't even seen Ashley's website in a minute. So, okay. So number one, she has this beautiful house helping you buy, sell, or invest in real estate while we design your dream home. Okay. Couple of things. Her text is really clean. Okay, up here, she has like a serif text with a sans serif text. That's graphic design chat for you. But you want to have 2 fonts like this. I'm going to guess, I haven't scrolled down. I haven't looked at Ashley's website since March, and it was on an iPhone on an airplane that I was looking at it. But I'm going to guess $1 million that if I roll down this website, these fonts will be consistent. She'll have a serif font and a sans serif font. I hope that's what happens when I roll down. Otherwise, this is going to be awkward. But again, she tells you exactly what they do. Exactly. Is anyone unclear? Okay. Clarity is queen. If content's king, clarity is queen. But you don't get clarity until you're consistent. And Chessa, that's why she's saying it's like evolves. As you're consistent, your clarity increases, right? And so if you're like, oh, I'm posting on social, and it's not working, you keep being consistent, and your clarity is because you're not being clear yet. Okay. Where interior design and real estate meet. Oh, okay. Well, I'm interested in that. Here's her serif font. Here's her sans serif font. All of the imagery is uber luxe. Okay, here's her design portfolio. What's her aesthetic? What does it look like? Oh, okay, here for that, right? We believe in functional, livable design that fits within your lifestyle. It doesn't compromise on beauty or style. Scrolls through. Now, this takes 10 years because she's actually had to go and do this work. Like, you actually have to do the freaking work. Oh, brand partnerships. Huh. Anyone recognize any of those brands? Again, this is why it takes time. This takes time. Coming soon projects, featured projects. Oh, Kaylee Wright, she's an influencer on Instagram. Kaylee is going to connect her with other people, right? Find your megaphones. What we do: interior design, real estate, military relocation specialist, real estate team building, content creation, business courses. Inquire about your purchases. Oh, there's Ashley. This is her Instagram feed. Look, does her Instagram feed match her website? Get in touch. Here we go. Let's make magic together. Submit form. Okay, now I'm going to go back home. Let's take a different route. Oops. Oh, this is your pop-up. Hang on. Get on the list. She's going to ask you to get on her email list. How do I get off this? Oh, there it is. Okay, so it pops up. Jump on our email list, right? Design portfolio, selling a home, find out what your home is worth, browse our MLS for exclusive properties. This is going to link to KV Core.
Yep.
Okay, links to KV Core. So she's gathering leads there. Why choose me as your agent? Okay. Inquire with us. This is put them on that inquiry, that same inquiry link, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, notice her fonts, they're still consistent. Serif and sans serif. Buying a home, buy or sell, design portfolio, Powerhouse.
This is what I think is the most amazing component of building your own website is you can add whatever you want. Amy, if you click on Powerhouse right there, join our team. This is a whole area just about our team, all the ins and outs. So that pours into agent attraction. It tells everyone what we offer about Powerhouse. And then it even will list out on its own separate page all the benefits of EXP. If you go, Amy, where it says up a little higher, benefits of joining our team, why EXP? It's that for, if you go down a little bit.
Okay, this one, why EXP?
Yep. This whole page is built out of all the benefits of EXP with links straight to, if you want to sign up, it goes to my sign up page.
This is a recipe for your own. Everyone has their own sign up page. You change your name, change Ashley's name and put your name. Okay, stocks, rev share, referrals. But again, you see how it still manages, like stays her brand, her colors, her aesthetic, mastermind resources. She's linking to, You know, it's great. Like Ashley, there's not one video of Ashley talking about EXP on here. So people are like, oh my gosh, I haven't even done a video yet. Neither is Ashley. But you have a website, right? That captures it at least. Okay, I don't know where this links.
It leads to you.
But this is a website that Ashley's built, not mine. It doesn't link to like my website. So, which is brilliant. And then she's taken my video and just put it right here. How do I change the freeze frame on this? Because I literally look like I'm dying.
You got to change your thumbnail in YouTube.
Oh, I don't even think I have it on YouTube. Is it on Vimeo?
This one's on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I'll do that. Okay. Actually, I did it so long ago that I didn't even realize that. Okay, perfect. And then I'm assuming this goes all about GoGo. But again, it's Ashley's housing it on her website. So she's not linking to GoGo's branding. It stays under Ashley's branding. Okay. So that's really cool. Okay. Oh, get on the list, right? And then we still have here, buy or sell takes me to KV Core. Oh, it just rolls it up here. Selling a home, that's going to take me to KV Core. Okay. And then, oh, wait, I'm on EXP. No, I'm not. Again, inquire with us is going to go back to this. But do you see how you can still have all of those links? If you don't have a website yet, you can have the links. Okay. That one is built through Show It. Actually, I'm sure you have a coupon code. Drop it in the chat if you want to use Show It.
And can I add one thing, Amy?
Yes.
So if anyone, I just did this for Aaron and for Meredith, if anyone wants to do their own Squarespace website, I can create a free trial for them. And so instead of them doing the 14 days, they get 180 days to tinker with it. And then when they do just decide to subscribe, they can get 20% off.
Yes.
I don't get anything from that, but I'm just saying I have that perk as a circle member. So I'm happy to do that.
But also you're willing to build people's websites. Yes.
Yes, but I'm just saying for Powerhouse, like if you guys want to come in and you just want to take a template that's out there and already exists, I can just create a free trial for you. So.
Okay. But also, Andrea, you can't do that at scale for every agent inside of Powerhouse. So I'm going to be protected.
I'm really quick at that. It's just a couple of clicks.
No. Like, I'm sorry, like, this is where we get into trouble because then now Andrea is building everyone else's business instead of her own business. So I'm just going to be a little bit protective of Andrea here and say, you can send a link, but you are not setting anything up. Like, you can't do that for people.
Yeah, no, I'm literally just, I'm creating a trial profile. So that's all I'm doing. They give me their email address and they tell me the name of the template they want. I generate the trial and send them the admin and they do everything else.
Okay, I'm just making sure, like, if you want Andrea to build your website,
they can hire me to do that too. I'm happy to do that.
Like, you have to pay her to do that. And that might be the route of least resistance, right? Ashley and I both have graphic design experience behind us. So we've been building websites for a long time. Okay. So it was back in like the Blogger days. Tell me you like use Blogger, Ashley, to like link together something that looked like a website. Tell me you're old without telling me you're old. If you want to do the Show It route, there's a link. I think you get $1,500 off or something, 15% off, not $1,500, 15%, something like that. I don't know. But the Show It route is great. Squarespace is like, again, it doesn't matter what you use. You just need to use something. And it can start with a Calendly link. It can start with Linktree. It can start with Milkshake. It can start with BioSite or whatever that one is. But you have to have a method to pull them off the app, which means you have to get into conversations with people on Instagram. Okay, that means you're asking questions in stories. The person that is a master at this is my friend Fatima. She goes by Fatty. Go and follow Style Fit Fatty. That's how you'll know that pineapples are no bueno on shirts. I would say her content is PG-13, so FYI. But she's a master at building community where you're just talking and having conversations. So like get into the habit of throwing up question boxes, ask yes or no questions, have them weigh in, because then you start having this two-way conversation, which is what you need. Because then they'll say, oh, I'm trying to figure out X, Y, and Z. And then you can say, oh, let me connect you with this person. Oh my gosh, I have a free resource on my website. Here's the link. Now you have their email address. Oh my gosh, I'm happy to help you with this. Here's a link to my calendar. Just schedule a call. And when I send that to people, they're like, oh my gosh, like I can talk. Like they think like, oh my, I'm like, yeah, you can just talk. You can just schedule a call, talk to me. It's not like, right? So you want to be that like person that does that. So how do you get to that point where they're willing to like drop into your DMs? How many of you have people dropping into your DMs, or therein lies the problem?
Therein lies the problem.
Therein lies the problem. Okay, so you almost have to like invite them to talk to you. And at first, again, I always use like comparisons with your kids or whatever, but like your 15-year-old also doesn't want to talk to you. So it's like your questions are like, well, who'd you sit by at lunch? Or where did you go after school? Or like you're asking details about them that don't serve you. Right? And giving them what they need. Always opening up the conversation. So what are the questions to ask in stories to open up the conversations? I always start, these are like the story funnels. There's a ton of trainings inside the Trello board. So now I'm getting distracted by the chat. It took me, like, you have to get into the habit of saying like, oh, where's your favorite city? Like, okay, let me just start over. These are what I call like story funnels. Okay. And so you're going to pick like one person in your audience or like one client in your audience. Katie, what's a client that you're working with right now?
Relocation.
Okay, relocation. They're moving from out of state into Florida, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So what's the girl's name? What the client's name that you're working with? Where is she moving from?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
She's texting me right now. That's what.
Okay, she's moving from Pennsylvania. What's she asking you about?
About stuff that like what school district are they in and stuff like that. But they don't have school age kids. They're retirees.
They're retirees. Okay. So let's assume, does your typical client have kids though?
I do
Or
move
they
out
are-
and
you're-
retirees.
As I say, you're in Florida, so it could be, okay.
Mhm.
So it's like retirees moving to the Sun Belt state, right? They're moving down to Florida to have a son and whatever. So you might say, like, what are the resources they're always wanting from you?
They're wanting to know, your retirees, they want to know like what it's going to cost them to live in a certain home or community, because a lot of them are paying cash. And so they're looking at, and some of them are on a pension or something like that, and a fixed income. And so they're wondering, what is it going to cost me monthly, annually to live in this home? Taxes, insurance, HOAs, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so my next question for you is this the clientele you always want to serve, or do you want to serve like the dream home buyer, like the luxury buyer?
I would like to get to the luxury buyer. I've been stuck on how to do that. I do have a couple of luxury clients that have come in. We haven't started actually looking yet, but through EXP.
Okay, so here's what you're going to do, is you're going to say, oh, I'm working with clients that are moving in from out of state. I want to know what is your favorite school district in, like, what are your top favorite school districts and why?
Mhm.
Ask your audience, right? Because your audience is probably, if I had to guess in real life, how old, sorry, Katie, this is like nosy, but we're getting down to demographics. How old are you?
36.
36. Okay. So you're coming up where people are going to start buying their dream house in the next, like, if they haven't already, in the next 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So you want to say, like, what are they wanting to know? They want to know, where are all the club sports teams? Where are the best school districts? But the other thing you can do is you can say, oh, I'm working with a lot of retirees. And one of the things is, like, they work on a fixed budget. And so, like, you can talk about, like, how to get yourself, right? Like, give them content, like forward facing content of, like, vision casting. Well, one day you're going to retire. And then what, right? And how does that work for people? But right now you can start talking to the people that are moving in from out of state, because there's going to be people that are going to come in from other markets. Like, they're going to come down from New York and they have a lot of money to spend. Isn't
Mhm.
that happening in Florida?
Yeah, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Illinois, like all those places.
Okay. So then all the things they're wanting to know is, like, well, where are the best school districts? Where are the club teams? I want a golf cart community. Isn't
Mhm.
that the things that are kind of on their list?
Yeah. Yeah, amenities.
So then you can start talking with your audience of, like, oh my gosh, I have these clients moving in from out of state, which you do. And, one of the things that people are always asking is, like, okay, well, what are the best school districts in what city are you in?
I'm Bradenton, Sarasota are my two main markets.
But Sarasota is, like, the most recognizable name, right?
Yes.
We're going to use Sarasota because it's recognizable. And so we'll say, oh, what is, like, your favorite elementary school in Sarasota and why? Have everyone, like, tell you what it is, and, like, everyone's like, oh my gosh, they will champion wherever their kids go to school, right? And it opens up, and then you have all the data now, right?
Yeah.
And then you can share that. Another thing is, like, oh, what do you do during hurricane season? Like, what the heck?
Mhm.
What does that
Yeah.
even look like? Right? Oh, so many people are asking about, like, 5 things you do when, I don't even know the verbiage of hurricanes.
Preparing for a hurricane.
For a hurricane, right? And that can be like a real content, and you can also have, like, a slide deck content, right? And then you can say, hey, if you're moving in from out of state, you can download my free resource here. Boom, they're on your email list, right? So it might be that every month you have if you said this year of 2023, every month I'm going to have a new resource for them to download. Well, one, you're going to go generate that from your existing audience. Help them weigh in on it. And then you can say, okay, here's where it's at. Does that make sense? And
Yeah,
then
that's
to
good.
rinse and repeat those all the time. So then anytime you're like, I don't know what to talk about on stories, be like, okay, well, let's see, what resource do I want to share today? I'm going to share 5 things I wish I would have known when whatever. And if you're looking for headlines, go to BuzzFeed. Go to BuzzFeed and go read their headlines. Those headlines are, like, clickbaity. They get people to, like, click in, right? And raise your hand if you feel slimy trying to come up with a good headline to get people to click. Raise your hand if that makes you feel slimy. Just raise your hand. I know it's true. Okay. Do you feel slimy when you, like, say things to your kids to get them to do what you want them to do or what they need to do? I don't feel slimy. I'm like, come heck or high water, you're cleaning your room before you go out tonight. Right? So I'll say things like, literally, I don't care if your girlfriend's at the door, you're not leaving until your room is done. Right? Okay, great. You're trying to help them get what they need. And you have to understand that there is so much coming at them that it better, like, have a little bit of a shock factor to it to be like, oh yeah, I need that. Right? Like, I'll paint that picture, like, legitimately, your girlfriend's standing at the door, I'm going to make you go up and clean your room, and I don't care if she's standing there. Is that clickbaity? Am I actually going to do that? Yes. But does it, like, communicate? Oh, no. Okay, this has to get done, right? So you have to, you're not doing them any favors by being like, well, maybe, I mean, if you want, I don't know if you want. I don't know, maybe. Right? Like, if we look at Katie and Ashley, raise your hand if you're like, yeah, they're 1000% qualified, experienced, and who I would want advocating for me, knowing what you know about them. Raise your hand, drop a yes in the chat if you're like, yep, Yep. How many of you knew that about Ashley? How many of you knew that she had all that behind her?
I saw Ashley on social media. I don't know if it was before or after I joined EXP, but I think I messaged her early on, like just looking at her Instagram before seeing the website, like, what do you do? It looks amazing. I'm trying to figure out your business model. But yeah, she's like light years ahead of me, but it's really amazing.
So, but it's like that thing of like, you want to make it easy for people to figure out what you do. So then you have to say, yeah, I am the expert. Katie is going to be a million times better than the 55-year-old dude that's selling luxury to the family with 4 kids moving from New Jersey. I am sorry. There's no way he is going to like process it like appropriately. There's just no way. Does that make sense? So you're not doing them a favor by playing small. And you're not doing yourself a favor by playing small. Right? So it becomes about saying, how do you meet more people? Real life has to mirror online. Real life is just really, you're actually just like super genuine, and you're putting yourself in rooms where your clients, your clients are going to be. Okay? You're going to go put yourself in those rooms, whether it's pertinent to you or not. Go put yourself in that room. Okay. Then online, you're going to be very clear on what it is you do, because they're going to meet you in person. Instagram's listening to you anyways, because you're both going to have your phones in your pocket. So then they're going to serve up your reel the next day. That's what's going to happen. Oh my gosh, I met her last night. I had no idea. She sells $1 million homes. Oh my gosh, so cool. Right? And so it starts to go back and forth. Back and forth. And what happens is you get this compound effect. You're seeing the compound effect in what Ashley's doing. Okay? Because now she's having to sign NDAs for her interior design projects. That means it's famous people, in case you were wondering. Okay? So, is that a good problem to have? Good problem to have, right? But again, it's because of the compound effect of her work. It's the compound effect, right? So again, same, like, it's not like I have multi-million-dollar listings day one. No. I don't. It's taken me 5 years to have multi-million-dollar listings. And it's the compound effect of in real life and digital marrying, right? Because you should be taking your relationships off Instagram. Oh, shiz. You found the picture. I'm sharing my screen. Hang on.
That took me a minute.
That was impressive. Oh, I am mortified. I don't even know that I want to see it. This is so epic. It's so funny. Here's little baby Amy and baby Ashley. Met on Instagram. Oh, we are just, your daughter looks just like you. That is wild, Ashley.
Yeah, they're mini me's. It's so funny.
Yeah, there we are. Wow.
I would like to add to that too, just the caveat of like, don't be afraid to pivot and evolve and change, because that's like the natural progression of any business. And like Amy and I met in graphic design. We were both doing graphic design, but my end goal was always interior design, and then added real estate on there because it served my client better. Like that's how I evolved into real estate, which expanded my business so much. So don't be afraid to pivot. If it's not working, don't do it. Make the change and do, like, follow your heart and follow your passions, because that's truly where you will flourish.
100%. I feel like we need to do like Powerhouse Hour, where we just like deep dive into like, and everyone tells the story of their business, of like how they started and where they are now. Because I think so often as you look at agents that are like, have the quote unquote business of your dreams, and you're like, oh, that seems like so easy and they've always been that way. When in reality, we were literally, that picture was taken at my sister's house. My sister was a photographer, had a studio in her house. Like that's how ghetto fabulous we were. Like actually we were scrappy. We were freaking scrappy. We had
Yeah.
little babies on our hips. We were building websites. We were like, you know, all of those things. And it's like, we just kept building and building and building. And it keeps shifting and changing and growing. And that's where it becomes so fun. But the compound effect of like showing up on social media and having it like ping pong back and forth with real life is like magic. Because all these relationships that I've had from like my graphic design days, like where like Lisa Allen lives by my in-laws and I run into her in Encinitas and in Newport. And it's like, oh my gosh, I remember when you were like barely starting and I was barely starting. Like you get to grow up together and you keep helping each other. And it's by like forming connections with each other. Like, it's not like, oh, we're always doing business deals together, but it's like, oh my gosh, what do you need? Oh, I know that person, right? You're building those links of relationships. That makes sense. And that's the real power in social media, is like building the relationships. And so often we don't respond to comments, we don't DM back, we don't even create the opportunity. And so then it's like having a storefront, but never having a cash register, or like never unlocking the door and being like, well, I don't know why anyone is coming in. Well, because you've locked the door, because you're not talking to them. Right? Any questions for today? Helpful ideas of what to build and how to link it together. Okay, this is like really important. The linking of everything is really important. And your first website is probably going to be ghetto fabulous, just like mine was, and just like Ashley's was, and just like everyone in this room. You should, in a year, you should be embarrassed by your website. Like, oh, that was cute, right? Because the point is growth. The point is growth. Okay. Also, I'm going to tell you one other thing. You're coming into the last 2 or 3 weeks of the year, and I'm going to bet all of you are exhausted. I'm going to bet also all of you have a million ideas for your business that you would love to implement. Raise your hand, drop a yes if that's true in the chat. Okay. Don't miss the holidays because you feel like this time scarcity and it has to get done right now. Don't do that. That's when you hit burnout, because you're like, feel this thing of like, I have to get this short-term win. And this is a long game. This is a long game. And it has long returns as well. So don't miss the holidays because you're like all of a sudden think I need to have this website done by January 1st. That's not true. That's not true. You can have it done January 30th or February 28th or March 15th or May, right? Like this is a process, and I want to be careful that you're not putting so much pressure on yourself that it's miserable. Because if it's always miserable, that's when you hit burnout. And we talked about this a little bit inside like the frustration loop of like, you can see all these opportunities up on the horizon. So what I would do is, it's like, oh, if there's something you want to pursue, spend a little bit of time journaling and know like, okay, this is the idea I'm going to pick up and I'm going to build. It might be, I'm going to do my bio site. I'm going to build out my Calendly workflow. I'm going to build out my Flowdesk workflows. Okay. That's where I would start, and just write it down. Okay. And then say, I'm willing to work on this for 30 minutes every day. I'm going to work on it for 30 minutes every day. And then I'm going to go and like enjoy the holidays. Okay. This will always be here. This will always be here. Work will always be here. The hazard of being like a high performer, a high achiever, a people pleaser, I'm going to guess a lot of you fall into that category, is that you never stop. And I promise you, inside this rest, you will come back a different person if you allow yourself a bit of space to rest. Okay. So that's my food for thought coming into the holidays. I'm telling myself that as much as I'm telling you that. Like, give yourself permission. Like, people take off work during the holidays, so you can too. It's okay. You're not going to lose as much momentum as you think. You're going to be just fine. Okay? Any questions before we sign up for today? Okay. I love you all. I'll see you next week.